Hello. Um, Today I thought I'd introduce you to a lens I bought a year ago. I decided to replace my 300 millimeter f2.8 AIS, a manual focus lens that I was mainly using for photographing people. Um, my hit ratio with that lens was my hit ratio, meaning in focus, perfect focus, sharp images, was about 6%. So 6 out of 100 images were, keepers. And I realized, using my 600 millimeter f4, it was the fact that the f4, the 600 millimeter had autofocus, and I could keep my hit ratio around 96%. So I tossed back and forth on whether to get a newer 300 millimeter f2.8 VR1 or VR2, or the 200 millimeter f2 VR or VR2. I ended up deciding on a 200 millimeter f2 VR. My wife reminded me that I already had a 300 millimeter, and that the 200 millimeter would just add to my arsenal of lenses. After getting it, I found that it was back focusing. It wasn't what I dreamed it would be. So I had to go through and do a manual calibration and get the camera to adjust for the fact that it was back focusing. I've had the opportunity to shoot people, wildlife, even some nature shots, and the lens is phenomenal. Right now she's hooked up to the D810 with a battery pack on it, and it's heavy. There is no doubt about it. You go shoot a family for 3 hours and your arm is shaking. So I always take my lens strap with me so I can rest my arms in between shots and settings and stuff, so I'm not constantly hanging on to the camera and lens. The other thing that people complain about is, besides it being heavy, is the fact that the lens foot is so small. It is small. There is no doubt about it. And what I found the very first time I went and shot it was that my hit ratio was way off, and I couldn't figure it out. Well, I went back out and tested the lens again, and then come to find out what was happening is I rest my hand on the bottom of the lens foot, or the tripod foot, and my fingers were accidentally touching the ring, the focus ring. And when you touch the focus ring, and when it's in autofocus, it automatically overrides it, puts it manual. So I did some research and found that there was a replacement foot for this, but once you put the replacement foot on, you could no longer put the lens hood on, so then it would no longer fit into its case. And it came with a really nice case, that you would want to use. You wouldn't want to buy something aftermarket, because this thing is made for it by Nikon. So I came up with a solution. It's my quick release mount for my tripod, and I just mount it on the lens foot. Once I do that, then my hands no longer touch, and I can rest this thing on the palm of my hand without my fingers touching. They don't even get close, which works out perfect. If you decide to get one of these lenses that Nikon doesn't make anymore, which I don't understand why, because it's a phenomenal lens, especially if you're shooting portraits or action. I had the opportunity once to shoot some ladies knocking the volleyball around amongst themselves, and the action shots are just breathtaking. If you get an opportunity to purchase one of these lenses, keep in mind it's very expensive. It's really heavy, but it does a phenomenal job. I wanted to send this lens out to Nikon and have it cleaned and calibrated to Nikon service, and service isn't available for this lens, which is really sad because it's not that old and it's an extremely expensive lens. I believe this sold for $56,000, $6,000, $6,200 when it was new, when it first came out. You can find them on eBay anywhere from, I don't know, $3,500 to $5,000, depending on VR1, VR2. Closer to $6,000, $5,800. They're still high value. Nikon didn't make very many of them at all. You know, you look at how many copies that Nikon made of the 7300, and it's, you know, it's close to 1 million, if it isn't 1 million copies. The F2, yeah, we're talking in the thousands, maybe tens of thousands, but nothing like a very common lens like the 7300. I'm hoping that one day Nikon will, you know, maybe reproduce this or produce the parts or whatever's holding them up for just being able to send it in, have it cleaned, have it calibrated. There's no damage to it. It doesn't need to be fixed. It just needs to, you know, I would like to have it cleaned and calibrated. Regular maintenance that you do with high-end lenses, you know, every couple of years or every year, depending on how much you use them, you send them in to the factory, have them checked out, cleaned, calibrated, sent back to you. You spend a few $100 to maintain the lens instead of several thousand to replace it. I'm pretty disappointed that I couldn't get this sent in. That's about all I have for you right now, and I'll just go ahead and share some of the images that I've shot with this lens. Feel free to shoot any questions. There's a lot of them out there. You know, Ken Rockwell goes through all the functions on it. I'm not going to waste your time with that. I'm just going to tell you my experience with it. My experience with it is wow. Yeah, love it. Heavy, fun. And it definitely gets attention. It gets as much attention as when I pull out my 600 f4. Yeah, it's a pretty amazing lens. Have a great day, and thank you for taking the time to watch. Don't forget to click subscribe, share with your friends, and leave a comment.